You made it to the last video. Let's go over your assignments for the week. Of course, like normal, you have a quiz that's due by the end of the week, chapter 7 and 8. This one is a little different, and I just know how generally students operate. I understand that for some of the other quizzes, it's a little easier to just kind of skim through, take maybe very loose notes, and then know you can rely on the book to execute the quiz. This one will not be the case. You are actually going to be, it's not really a short answer, that doesn't describe it well, but you're going to be writing a lead. You're going to be writing a nut graph based on information I'm providing you within the quiz. So my point is really take the time to study this chapter, understand it. Like, you could do this if you would feel comfortable taking this quiz, even if you didn't have the book next to you, because in a lot of ways, it's not going to be something you're just going to be able to skim and try to find the answer or go backtrack, even if you took good notes and just find a. You're going to have to try to apply what you learned and make sure that you really have a good grasp on it. So take your time, really learning the content this week, because that's the only way that you're going to do well on this quiz. What you're also going to be introduced is the hard news story. Taking a look here, due March 6th, so you have a few weeks for it. And let's go over what this is. So remember, this is one of the main writing assignments. So this one's worth a little bit more than the other than the exercises or the quizzes. You're starting to get into the assignments that have some weight to it. And here's what you'll be doing. You're going to write a hard news story. You must cover a live event that you attend in person. So first, let's do this. Make this distinction. I know based on the book, and we've been talking about hard news story, and the examples I give, fire. There's a car crash. There's a storm coming. It's like one, event that's happening that you really only have one chance to cover. Obviously, you're not going to be able to go find a fire to cover, or some storm damage and go cover what happened after the storm, or cover a police arrest. I understand that. So what we're going to do is we're going to just slightly modify it, and or I should say broaden it, and you just have to cover something that you have one chance to cover. It has to, it's live. It's not a feature story. It's not doing a story on your coach that you can keep going back and asking questions. It's one chance that you get. You have to go to some event. It's going to be done in some short time frame, and you got to get all the details that you need within that time. I give you some examples down here. A concert, a sports game, a town meeting. A lot of these are done through Zoom now. I do understand that, but I would allow you to attend through virtually, and try to get it through Zoom if it's in the moment. A town event. Sometimes the towns do something. They have some weekend. I know it's a little tougher in this winter. Spring's a little bit better, but sometimes there's some event, some charity drive, something that you actually have. They have it for a few hours in the day. You could go cover that. A public speech, events at libraries, a charity event I just mentioned, a school board meeting. So like local schools have their school board meetings. These are just some ideas. Take some time and think about it, but think about something that you only have a short time to cover. And I should also say, if it's a sports game, like I allow you to do your, nephew's basketball, your 10-year-old nephew's basketball game. It doesn't have to be a professional event. Maybe it's something you were planning on attending anyways. You could cover that. You are going to, and I know I've skipped down here, but just so you have a clear idea before I give you the directions, email me what you want to cover, and also contact me if you have trouble finding an event to cover. But think of something that might make sense, and then you'll email me and just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? And I can give you the yes or no, that's really not going to work, or yes, but make sure that you include this kind of information when you go. So you will email me what you want to cover. But that makes sure that I understand, we all both know, yep, this is the hard news. This is a hard news story, and you know exactly how you should approach this. All right. Your story should be written in a Word document or a similar program. Do not write the story in Blackboard. So remember, when I say don't write it in Blackboard, it's you don't write submission here and just start writing here in Blackboard. Do it in some other document. I think you all did that for your basic exercise, so you should be okay with that. But this way I can actually edit it, and I can see the way that you really formatted it. All right, let's take a look at what your story must have. You must not use reporting from other stories or use direct language from other stories. In other words, let's say you go to some event and hey, the Hartford Courant was there too, and they ran a story on it the next day. You can't kind of take what they did and paraphrase it. Or if they got a quote while they were there, you can't use one of the quotes that appeared in the Courant. You're getting your own original reporting. So no reporting from other stories. It doesn't mean that another outlet can't cover it too, but just make sure that you're not taking anything from that reporting that was done on it. You have to have at least one human source and 2 direct quotes that you obtain. The quotes must be recorded by you and original to your reporting. So this relates to this other point too. If you remember from the book, human source is somebody that you talk to. So yes, you got to go talk to them, and you got to get at least 2 direct quotes, word for word, that they said. And it can't be that they talked to, again, you saw that they talked to Hartford Courant, or maybe here's one. Maybe it's a speaker. They come speak at some event. They hand out a flyer, and on their flyer are some quotes that they've said before. Well, you can't use those, right? You have to be the one that actually talks to them and get what they said. It's your own original reporting. So when I say record it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to video record it or audio record it, though that's helpful if you want to get an exact quote. But it does mean that you are the one that they told you that quote, right? You have that original quote. So yeah, you have to talk to somebody. If you go to an event, an organizer of the event, somebody that attended, if you go with your mom or dad or your brother or sister, like, don't do that. Find somebody else. Go outside your comfort zone. I know it's hard, but you got it. That's part of being a reporter. You got to go outside your comfort zone. Some people might say, no, I don't want to talk about it. Many people will say yes, especially if you say, hey, I'm a student. I'm doing this for a class. They're probably more likely than not to do that. And if they say no, big deal. You go move on to the next person and try to see if they'll do it. So that's part of this whole experience, right? It's going out and trying to find that human source. When you do get that human source, remember, you got to get their name. If they don't want to share their last name, if you were a real reporter, I would tell you have to. You can't use them. In this case, though, you could use their first name, but you're trying to get their name. Let's try to do the best practices of a reporter. You want to give your story credibility. So go out, ask them for their first and last name, get that spelling right, and use it in the story. And of course, you can tell them it's not going anywhere. It's just, going to my teacher. Probably be more likely to do it for you. Be between 500 and 650 words. Don't go below. Don't go above. That's part of this. This is like the sweet spot. This is like the Associated Press, what they try to usually aim for. Get within that zone. If you have too much, you got to find ways to cut it. If you have too little, you didn't get enough information. So this is part of the whole exercise here. Have short paragraphs. We've been talking about that in this class. No blocks of text. 1 to 3 sentences, 4 at the most. That's the golden zone. And look at the way other reporters have been writing it. Those examples I've shown you, you'll notice they're always about 1, 2, 3 sentences. I don't think any of them go to 4, definitely not 5, but 4 is pushing it, right? Be written in the third person in past tense, just like you've learned in your book. It has already happened. So it is past tense and third person, which means no first person. No means I saw this, I talked to this person. Second person slips in there too. No, you should do this. Have you ever attended? You, that's talking second person. We're keeping this third person, past tense, helps even a little bit with the objectivity, right? You're not interjecting yourself into the story. All right, so what will you be grading on? Is it informative and well-researched? Did you get the proper information you needed when you were there? Did you get the background information that you needed, right? That's all part of this. Organization, the story structure. That's, again, a lot of what you're doing this week, what you're learning. Is the lead what a lead should be? Then do you have the proper information in the nut graph? Then do you have your quote? Then do you have your quotes start to come in there with the background information? Does it end with a nice closing statement, right? That is the organization, the story structure. Is the focus clear, the main idea, right? Is that clear? Do I know what the story's about? And I should know, as you know from your quiz, should I know it from the first or second, within the first or second paragraph? Do I know what the main focus is of this story? Is the writing clear, concise, and informative? Basically, are you using 3 sentences when you could have used 1? Are you repeating stuff and is it just showing up over and over again? Could you cut that down, make it concise? I know, I could see, look at me, I wasn't really being concise here. I said informative here and informative there, so I could probably just delete that out. But is it clear? Do you kind of dance around? Or are you being direct with your information? Are you making sure that it's written in a way that we understand, that you're using common language, that we understand? If there's something that needs to be explained, did you explain it? Or are you just making assumptions we know what everything means, right? That's what we're talking about. You're looking at it as an audience member who is trying to, or a reader, right? So your audience who is trying to, who has not been to this event, are they going to be able to understand it in the same way as you, the reporter who's been doing all this research and has been there, right? That's the goal. Quality of the quotes, the information you got for your interview. I know your book has gone over this, but this is a bad quote. This is an example of what you don't want to do. Quote, I was born in Los Angeles, California, said end quote, said the interviewee that I was talking about. Well, you could just tell that the person was born in Los Angeles. So-and-so was born in Los Angeles, right? That, as a reporter, you can just say. Quotes are the spice. Those are those extra special things. So maybe it's something like, this is the quote, and of course I'm giving you no context of whatever story, but just so you get an idea. Maybe the quote is, oh, these New England winters are rough for me from someone who came from California. Now that's more of a quote. That's giving me a little personality of this person. Doesn't like the winter. It's rough for them. Man, they're having a hard time adjusting because they came from the warm area. Right? That's the quote. So what I'm trying to say is if you can just say it as a reporter, descriptor of the person, this person was born here, this person, the event, or here's a quote, don't say, quote, the event is held on Thursday this year, end quote. Well, you can just say the event was held on Thursday. Maybe the quote is when they say, we've been more excited for this year than any other year before because we got so many great speakers that we never were able to get before. Now that might be the quote that you use. You get what I'm saying here? So anything can just be said, you say. The quotes are the spice. Those quotes that kind of give it the flavor of the story. That's what I mean by the quality of the quotes. Do those quotes really help tell the story, liven the story, or is this just something you could have said as a reporter and you just were pulling anything that they said so you could have quotes, right? It's newsworthiness. The only reason I throw this one in here, we did learn about newsworthy, and most of yours will be newsworthy, especially if you got it approved by me. But I one time had a student who did not get it approved by me, and their hard news event was he had two friends over and they played video games for the night, and it was what happened with the video games. I said, well, that is not newsworthy because I don't care. Nobody cares about that. I'm not saying gaming isn't important. If it was a gaming event, right? Yeah, okay, if it was some kind of tournament, but you just on Saturday night playing with your friends is not a newsworthy event. Right? So that's what I mean by newsworthy. You've got to make sure that it has some kind of news value, and we learned about what makes something newsworthy. If you check it with me, I will always be able to get you, yes, it is or it is not. Give me 1 second for some water here. All right. AP style. Don't worry about this one yet. This is going to be next week's lesson. So even if you start writing this, don't worry about the AP style. We're going to go over that next week. How all the lessons from the chapters are being applied, your lead, your nut graph, information gathered from the interview, sources, all the things we've been learning, I'm looking, is it starting to be applied here? I know this is your first round at this, right? But I'm just starting to see, do you have some foundation that you've been working with? And is it free from spelling or grammatical errors? Of course, you're going to be checking for that. All right, that's a lot. If you're feeling overwhelmed here, let me just give you a few, guiding points here. One, this I understand is for most of you your first time doing this on your own, going out, getting a story, trying to put it together, write it. I'm going to be very lenient. What I'm really looking for is you've been learning these lessons, we've been doing these exercises. Did you start to apply it? And even if you misapplied it, even if you didn't do it well, that at least gives me an ability to give you some feedback and say, okay, here's how you'll improve for the next one. Here's what you need to work on. Of course, I do have to grade it, but like I said, I'm more lenient on the grades. I'm not looking to you made one small mistake, I'm going to hammer you right away. I understand. I'm looking for application. Did you try to apply what we've been learning? As we go on through the semester, that's when I get a little bit stricter because I start to say, I gave you feedback and now you got to use it on the next one and get better. Actually apply the feedback I'm giving. But this first one here, I want you to do your best based on the lessons that we've been learning. Now, of course, that doesn't mean just throw anything together, but of course, we all know what effort looks like and what doesn't. I can tell when the effort was applied or if it was just done last minute, right? So put the effort in here, go through this checklist, make sure you're meeting this, show me that you're applying things from the chapters, and you're going to end up okay, right? You're going to end up okay. You're not going to be failing this assignment. That's number one. Number two, time management. You have a few weeks to do this. This week, you've got to figure out what story you're going to do and email me so I can give you the approval so you feel set to go. That's number one. Then give yourself enough time for the event for you to actually go and cover it and then to write it. So what I mean by that is if your event is March 5th or 4th, that's a lot to do, to go get the story, come back, write it, edit for AP style, which we'll go over next week, but will take you some time. Like, you're really cramming yourself. So really what I would do this week is find the event, get it approved by me. If you can, maybe go to it this week. If it's early next week, you go early next week and cover it, and then give yourself at least a week to write it and revise it, right? So benchmark this. Try to see what makes sense so that you have enough cushion from you getting the information to you writing the story, all right? All right, that's a lot. I know it is. If you do have questions, let me know. In any case, I should be hearing from you because you should tell me what your event is as soon as you got it so we can work on it. And like I said, I'll either say, yep, go ahead. No, that really doesn't work. Or a lot of times what happens is, yeah, that works. But when you go there, make sure you're interviewing someone like this, or make sure these are the kinds of facts you should be gathering there. Right? I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance, and that we'll go through it that way. Okay. Good luck with this. Have some fun. It's tough. I know it can make you nervous. I know, but that's the whole point of this class. You're stretching yourself. You're doing the work that a journalist does. and hopefully within the process, understanding how news is made, the difficulties, the challenges, and producing something for yourself that's if you wanted to, you could use as a portfolio, but even not, a good sample for your critical thinking, right? All those research and interview skills. A journalistic story always is an example of it, right? Because you're having to do all these moving pieces and putting it into some simple product that we can all understand. And I think that's just a valuable exercise to do, whether you're going to be a journalist or not.